Hey guys, I'm Victoria Garner, class of 2019.
And I'm Khadijah Alibhai, also class of 2019, and we're here to give you guys a recap of the weekly SGA meeting that was held this past Sunday, November 8th. After the meeting was called to order and attendance was taken, these announcements were made. The first announcement was that emergency elections are being held for election committee heads and COPs. The nomination period started this past Sunday, November 8th, and will end on November 16th. Candidates Forum will be on November 19th from 6 to 7 p.m., and the elections themselves will be right before Thanksgiving. If you have any questions or if you want to nominate yourself or a friend, please email elections@brynmawr.edu.
Secondly, the November appointments round has been extended. The positions up for reappointment are the McBride representative to the Financial Aid Advisory Board and positions on the Dining Services Advisory Board, the Alcohol Concerns Review Board, and the Customs Committee. They are also looking for a new head of the Customs Committee and members from the class of 2017 and 2016 for the Traditions Committee. If you have any questions, please email gbsmith@brynmawr.edu. Following announcements, Sha'Carri Badgett conducted a straw poll asking if the community would want to host a panel with campus safety to ask questions about the recent events. The straw poll gained a visual majority.
Next, the Seven Sisters representatives, Elizabeth Vandenberg, class of 2016, and Emily Spiegel, class of 2018, gave a recap of the recent Seven Sisters Conference where they talked about how we can improve our relationship with other colleges. The Seven Sisters Conference is an annual meeting of representatives from the Seven Sister schools. The purpose of the conference is to help the school's student government organizations keep in touch and to update each other so that we can all improve our organizations. The document that established the conference is the Constitution of the Coordinating Board for the Seven Sisters Coalition. But the Coordinating Board itself hasn't existed for a long time, so at this conference, representatives decided to reform the Coordinating Board, start pooling our resources, and start moving towards becoming a more coordinated body. The representatives elected a president pro tempore.
Next year, the conference will be hosted at Bryn Mawr. Elizabeth Vandenberg and Emily Spiegel will be planning the conference and are creating a temporary committee for this purpose. At this Sunday's SGA meeting, there will be 3 representative council votes regarding this committee. The first will be voting to reaffirm the Constitution of the Seven Sisters. The second will be to elect or re-elect representatives to the Seven Sisters Coordinating Board. The third will be to establish a temporary committee for the planning of the next Seven Sisters Conference here at Bryn Mawr. Any undergraduate student is eligible to be on the planning committee. If you are on the representative council, it is suggested that you consult with your constituents on these issues. Contact Seven Sisters representatives Elizabeth Vandenberg, Emily Spiegel, or the SGA e-board, sga@brynmawr.edu, with any questions or concerns. President Charlie Bruce also had an announcement from the president of Barnard's Student Government Organization. This year at Barnard, there will be no winter break housing for students who are not athletes or tour guides. This leaves a significant number of people without anywhere to go over winter break. Barnard's president asked Bryn Mawr alumni and students who are in the greater New York area to open our homes and our hearts to those without anywhere to go. In the coming weeks, Barnard's SGA will be discussing this issue, so more information will be available to us.
During Old Business, President Charlie Bruce also brought up the continuing discussion of whether or not positions on the SGA e-board should be paid positions for those with work study. The e-board at both Haverford and Vassar is a paid position for those on work study, and we are looking into this because a position on the e-board often requires hours equivalent to a part-time job, making positions less accessible to those on work study. Email cebruce@brynmawr.edu with questions, comments, or concerns. During the November 1st SGA meeting, the community brainstormed ways that the college could increase revenues and decrease spending. Our suggestions have been typed up and sent to the Chief Financial Officer, and she would like to extend her thanks to members of the Representative Council. If you have any additional comments or suggestions, please contact her at kfazio@brynmawr.edu.
At this SGA meeting, we launched Bring a Friend to SGA Day, and SGA is trying to focus more on outreach and inclusivity. The members at large broke the group up into 5 smaller groups where they led discussions on what SGA can do to increase attendance and make these meetings feel like an inclusive space where anyone and everyone is welcome to voice their opinions. From these groups, we learned that people don't come to meetings because of the time they are held, as 7 p.m. on Sundays is a prime homework time and makes it difficult for off-campus members to attend. The setup of the meeting can also be intimidating.
For example, the arrangement of chairs can make it hard for people in the back to hear or make statements, and in this setup, it is difficult to know who is on the Representative Council. As for the content of the meeting, students thought it would be helpful to include a list of commonly used SGA terms on the projected slide, as well as a short description of each section of the meets and more outreach directed towards people who do not regularly attend meetings.
Next week, we will be discussing the language used at SGA because Robert's Rules of Order can be confusing, especially if you haven't been introduced to them previously. At the Seven Sisters Conference, we learned that Mount Holyoke has everyone come together and write out a set of community guidelines to change the tone of conversations at the beginning of each semester. Bryn Mawr's SGA would like to do the same, so the representative council was asked to think about it and come to the next meeting with ideas. These guidelines would be announced at every meeting.
Continuing with new business, it was announced that those who give out keys to the SGA kitchen will have a little card with a checklist of things you can do to help clean up after using the kitchen. Also, if you attend an SGA meeting, please try to keep your use of electronic devices at a minimum unless you are using it for the meeting. Following new, the SGA meeting was adjourned at 7:55 p.m. Sunday, November 8th. Thanks again for watching, and we hope to see you next week.